We are tape rolling.
Yeah, you can do a two-shot and then just me. Do first a two-shot, then just me. I'll ask the hanging question. Then we cut there, then I'll ask about the blood moon. Okay? Sige.
Okay, we are tape rolling. 5, 4.
So, Joseph, tell us, if you're a Filipino today and we have a prophetic destiny, what does the Filipino need to do at this time? But before you answer that, we'll be right back after a short reminder. Okay, now we ask about the blood moons.
We're still tape rolling. 5, 4.
Joseph, you have a book on the Shemitah and the Jubilee year, and in fact that book was nominated for a Nobel Prize, right? So tell me, what's the significance of all these signs happening? In fact, a few months back, we had the blood moons. Is there any connection to what's going on now in the world?
In Jewish mythology, a blood moon signifies that war is coming. So if the blood moon is in the east, it's coming from the east. If it's blood moon's in the west, then the war is coming from the west. So that's a thing that they developed over their history. A dark moon is a dark yellow moon. It passes through the shadow of the earth, but it doesn't turn the red.
Right.
It's a dark yellow. And they've learned that generally means that famine is coming. So how did they learn this? When you go back through the history, and I've documented this and myself, when Adam, just before Adam died, at the high holy days of Passover and Sukkot, which is when the full moons are, Passover and the Feast of Tabernacles, so that's March, April, and September, October. Just before Adam died, there were blood moons on those high holy days for 3 years in a row. Before the other patriarchs died, there were also blood moons before these events. Now, some people say these blood moons are according to the Hebrew calendar, they don't line up. Well, I go by a different, I go by the crescent moon calendar and the barley being Aviv, which is the way the Bible used to be before Hillel in 322 or 320 BC or AD. So using that calendar and that information, I can go all the way back. Just before Israel began to be destroyed, and that destruction started in 7040 with the first captivity and finally capitulated in 723, and Judah in 586, there were blood moons on the high holy days before all of this. When Yeshua was killed, the day he died, there was a blood moon.
Oh, okay.
And before World War II, there were blood moons. Before World War I, there was blood moons because Israel was involved in these wars. There's a great list. I have articles on my website. Again, those are free to whoever wants to download them and read about them. And the book is there. You can PDF it, explaining all this in detail. But the blood moons are a warning of war. So we had blood moons on the high holy days in 2014 and 2015. And because of the barley and the sighted moon calendar, again in 2016. So what does it mean? It's a warning that war is coming. Now, according to
It's like 3 warnings.
it's 3 big warnings up in the sky that the whole world can see. Is this true? You can't find in the Bible. So you can't say that this is directly from God. But the Jewish mythology is showing that it is. It is from God. So in the sabbatical and jubilee year cycles, there are curses for not obeying. The first curse is terror. The second curse is drought and severe famine. Third curse is pestilence. And the fourth one is war. And those, during that sabbatical cycle or jubilee cycle, those are 7-year periods. And that started in 1996 with terror. And some of the hottest years on record are in the second cycle and continued. Each one is added to the other. We had all kinds of diseases starting in the third cycle. And now we're in the fourth cycle starting in 2017. And we have President Trump and North Korea about to push a button on each other. And now they're going to have peace talks. What's going to happen with that when that comes up next month? We have the ISIS war going on, and you had the Marari war going on down here.
Right.
And I warned you that was coming. So now we're in the cycle of war. So these 7 years, starting 2017 to 2023, is the cycle of war. But Daniel 9, which we've mentioned before, it says in the middle of this Jubilee cycle, Israel will be cut off. The middle of this Jubilee cycle is from 1996 to 2044. And that middle is 2020. And there's we don't have time. I would love to spend about 5 hours with you, but there's so much information that revolves around 2020, showing that this war, how long it starts, the 2,300 mornings and evenings of Daniel 8 start in 2020. The end of that week of the false prince in Daniel 9:27, I think it is, ends at this time. That's the United Nations. That's the EU. That's the great whore of Revelation that we don't want to be a part of, and yet the Philippines is being a part of it by accepting their bribe money to your country. So this war is on the Anglo-Saxons, on the tribes of Israel. But then after that, it goes to the other nations. And it's coming to the Philippines. Again, how many of you, what percentage of you, whether all of you or none of you, are going to be obeying God depends on which part you get the blessings or the curses. And you have that choice. You have that choice. You have that choice. Everyone here in the Philippines has that choice. What do you choose?
We choose God. We
Okay.
have to choose God.
But saying it is not
And
the same
doing-
as doing
yeah,
it.
Right, right.
You will know them by their fruits.
Yeah.
I will show you my faith by my works.
Yes, by my deeds. Yeah.
You have to do something. Again, we talked about the before the Senate, the holy days of God that are going to unite the Philippines. They have the potential to unite. You've been praying. We got groups praying for a miracle to come to the Philippines, for revival. That revival is now. I'm not just saying it.
Yes.
I'm seeing it. And I'm not from here. There's so much. The blood moons is just one aspect of it. But when you put it all together, it's just like, here's one piece of evidence, there's another piece of evidence, there's another, and you keep adding this up until you have a case in a court of law. And that court of law is God's court. And you as a people, your audience as a people, get to be witnesses while Satan is prosecuting against God or Yeshua to whether this is going to come to pass. But he does nothing unless he first tells his people by a prophet.
Amen. So you're going to insert that. Okay. All right.